I grew up in a community where we knew everybody, right up the street. We played in the street. The manhole was first base. The neighbor's mailbox was second base. The tree at the end of the line was maybe the end zone. We walked into our neighbor's house like it was our own. We opened up the refrigerator door like it was our own. Our neighbors were Aunt and Uncle so-and-so, even though we weren't really related. That was a tight-knit community. I grew up in a town where, when I was 9 years old, my Little League baseball team won the championship that year, and my picture appeared in the Berkshire Eagle. A local artist called my mother and said, "Your son fits the description of a painting I have to do to commemorate man landing on the moon in 1969. Can you come down and pose for me?" Went down on a Saturday, posed for this local artist for about 2.5 hours. Wrote me a personal check for $40. What do you think a 9-year-old does with $40? Well, I couldn't cash it because my mom made me go to the bank and put it in my savings account. But boy, I still wish I had that check. Because that check was signed by Norman Rockwell. And I became the boy astronaut, which commemorated Neil Armstrong taking the first steps of man landing on the moon. I grew up in a town when I graduated high school at the age of 17. My first job out of high school for the summer was a special policeman in the town of Lenox. I go into the old chief, swears me into office, hands me a uniform, and gives me a gun. I couldn't imagine for the life of me why I would need to carry a gun to be a special policeman, which really meant we directed traffic for Tanglewood concerts. He was an old school chief, and he says, "It's part of the uniform, Smitty, make sure you wear it." I said, "Well, Chief, I don't know all the laws of the Commonwealth, but I said, I'm only 17, and I won't be 18 until August, and I think you need to be 18 to carry a gun in Massachusetts." He looked me square in the eye and said, "Geez, Smitty, just don't shoot anybody till August." So I spent the whole summer carrying a gun. It wasn't loaded, but we looked official. But it's what made Lenox special. I grew up in a town where General Electric was employing about 13,000 people in Pittsfield. Paper mills were abundant. The paper mills in Lee alone employed over 4,000 people. Sprague Electric in North Adams employed over 3,000 people. Think about where we're at today. General Electric is gone. There's one paper mill left in the town of Lee and all of southern Berkshire County, employing 150 people. Sprague Electric has closed, and at that time, 50% of the employees who lost their job at Sprague Electric didn't even have a high school diploma. It was a generational mill mentality here in the Berkshires. My grandfather worked at the mill, my father worked at the mill. Chances are I'll work at the mill, and then my son or daughter will work at the mill. So education wasn't important. The previous speaker was so special about reading or else. That's what's going to change the course of our activities, not only here in the Berkshires, but everywhere in the Commonwealth and beyond. Think about where we're at today. We don't really know our neighbors. We don't know them really well. We certainly wouldn't walk in their house. We certainly wouldn't open the refrigerator door. But there's no reason why we shouldn't get to know our neighbors. Social media is a powerful tool. We need to utilize it. Twitter, Facebook, email, these are all things that we didn't have when we were younger. I have been able to connect with high school classmates of mine of 40 years ago from all over the country, and we haven't missed a beat. We didn't have those tools when I was growing up here in the Berkshires, but that's where we're at today. So when we think about our community, what do you want your community to be like? Yeah, there's times I would love to go back to play ball in the street, and yeah, we'd move when the traffic came, but to have the manhole as home base and the neighbor's mailbox as first base, that was a unique opportunity in our childhood. But families aren't having as many children as they once were. It's getting watered down each generation. But how do we interact with our fellow human beings? We don't pick up the phone like we used to. We'll shoot a text message. I love going into schools and I tell the young people, send a written note. Don't send me a text message. I keep boxes of notes and letters I've received over the last 30 years that maybe my daughter or son or my grandchildren will look at those someday and say, yeah, Dad, he did some pretty good stuff. Look at these nice letters he's gotten from people or note cards. Believe me, nobody prints out a text message. People really don't print out emails. But I love handwritten notes. That means you took the time, you made a connection, you made it personal. Make it personal. That's what's so special about community. I always say, be the community that you want it to be. Just don't sit back and complain. Take charge of it. I'm an elected official. I've been for 30 years, 15 as your state representative. It's a very humbling and honorable job that I have. But I get so frustrated with what's going on in Washington. Or let me say, what's not going on in Washington. But I say, we can make the changes that we need to make by taking the power back to your community. Maybe it's your neighborhood. Maybe it's your town. Maybe it's your state or your county or your country. It's going to bubble up. I talked to a young girl. She grew up in Pittsfield, single mom, daughter of a single mom. Dad wasn't heavily involved, went to college, graduated, and she says, I think I want to get in politics, Smitty. I go, why would you want to do that? And I was very sincere and genuine with her. I said, no, solve your problem. What is your expertise? The previous speaker talked about reading. He's carved out a niche. He's changing the world one person, one book at a time. That's what young people should be doing today. And then when you get that experience, that life experience, then you can build it up to maybe run for office to make a bigger change. That's what we need people to do. Don't get frustrated. Demand more of our government officials. Just don't sit back and complain about them. Demand that they're held accountable for every action they take. That's how we can change the dialogue. But in the meantime, whether it's literacy, homelessness, poverty, lack of education, those are things that we can control right here at the local level. So I grew up in a community where the county was very vibrant. There was a lot of stuff going on. And oh, by the way, we had this place called Tanglewood just down the street that changed the course of activity from the 4th of July to Labor Day. As a little kid, I loved sitting on the wall at Boston University Tanglewood Institute on Route 183 just to see the traffic change. We would do the license plate game. Well, come Labor Day, okay, enough, please go home. That was our mindset back then because we had a vibrant economy. But we need to embrace and feed the beast of our economy that's going today. But how do we do that? I think we do it one person at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one community at a time. Don't wait for the people in Boston. Don't wait for the people in Washington. You take charge of it. That's how it's going to change. Your community is no longer a zip code. Social media has wiped away the zip codes. I talked about my high school friends. They're in zip codes all over the country. I can't name one of them, but they're instantaneously there for me when I reach out to them. That's unique. There was a gentleman, when I first got elected to this current job, and it's something it's a creed that I try to live by, and I encourage each and every one of you to do the same. He says, Smitty, when I put my head down at night, knowing that I've helped even just one person, I've had a good day. And I let that process for a minute. And he put his hands on mine and he says, Smitty, I hope you have a lot of good days. This young man who was a state representative who went on to become Speaker of the House long before I got elected was an alcoholic. But his community helped him. And when we needed help in the Berkshires dealing with people with alcohol and substance abuse, we reached out to the Speaker of the House. And he picked up the phone and said, my community helped me. I want to help his community. The McGee unit in Pittsfield is named after former Speaker of the House, Tom McGee. Imagine what kind of community, what kind of country we would live in today if each and every one of us goes home tonight and when we put our head on the pillow, we can reflect on what we did today. Did we help even just one person? Or were we selfish in our daily activities? So it's something I try to live by every day. I try to tell that to my children. It could be a simple thing. Once in a while, I probably shouldn't say this publicly, if you're behind me at the drive-thru at McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, odds are I'm going to buy you whatever you ordered. Then I'm going to drive away. Pay it forward. Help somebody else. Open a door. Help the little old lady across the street. Help a young person to read. I occasionally go visit people at the jail. It's something my dad started years ago. He found out who from the town of Lenox was incarcerated for a very short period of time, and I would tag along with my father to go visit them. What got you to this point? What were the problems? What were the struggles? What do we have to do as a community to avoid you coming back here again? That's what we all can do. And that's what makes community special. So whether you're helping a local hospital, helping the Breen Center, helping a kid learn how to read, being a mentor, we have hundreds of thousands of kids in this state that don't even have mentors. I was blessed with mentors within my own house. But it doesn't have to be a family member. It could be a neighbor, it could be a coach, it could be a teacher. I've learned from people all throughout my life. You are the teachers. Don't take it lightly. Take it seriously. And when you put your head down at night, when you think about what kind of community you want to live in, I hope you put your head down at night saying, I had a good day because I helped at least one person. Be the community that you want your community to be. Thank you so much, and God bless.